broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some of the best.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news. TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Monkeypox is caused by a virus of same name that is closely related to now eradicated smallpox. The likely symptoms of monkeypox are fever, headache, muscle aches, back pain, low energy, rash, swollen lymph nodes, among others. How does the monkeypox virus get spread? You can get the virus through close contact with an infected person and also through physical contact with an infected animal. To get monkeypox treatment, you need to see a physician. Here are the steps to protect yourself from monkeypox virus. Step 1. Avoid close contact with suspected or confirmed monkeypox cases. Step 2. Avoid physical touch with animals who could be infected. Step 3. Frequently clean and disinfect environments that could have been contaminated. We all need to join hands together to protect ourselves from this virus. This campaign is brought to you by TVC Communication.
With all the health advice out there, it's almost impossible to make sense of all the noise. BBC Life Clinic aims to sift through the noise, hullabaloo, and clatter so the experts can be heard. BBC Life Clinic.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
For God so loved the world.
Happy Sunday to you out there, and thank you for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Today on the program, Nigeria's subsidy bill hits 18.39 billion naira per day as rehabilitation of refineries gulps 54.66 billion naira. Also in the program, stakeholders task Lagos State government on total ban of operations of commercial motorcycles in the state. And later on the show, our Journalist Hangout Weekend Special is on the agony of persons displaced by banditry in Jibia, Katsina State. Today on the program, I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, who will be joining us in the course of the program, and Mr. Adewale Adeoye. Welcome to the program, Mr. Adewale, and happy Sunday to you.
Good afternoon. Happy Sunday to you.
All right, thank you for coming. Journalist Hangout starts now.
Every major news story is with many perspective and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV station of the year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
The National Assembly is a busy place. As the bastion of democracy, it is a place where bills are presented, motions debated, laws made, and the yearnings of the people are laid bare. Come with us as we take you through the workings of the National Assembly. We take you through plenary, committee meetings, and probes, all to ensure smooth working of the democratic process.
So, all in favor say aye. Those against no, the ayes have it.
What do you know about the legislature, its role in governance, and as one of the three arms of government? Lagos Parliament is here to bring it to you as it is. Here to bring you every detail you need to know about the legislature in Africa's most populous city. On Lagos Parliament, you get a chance to meet the lawmaker of the week. Events are critically reviewed. You can also observe plenary in Yoruba language. I am Abimbola Agbebi. Join me every Friday at 9 p.m. as I take you through the activities of the legislature.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen, following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
It's not your regular show. It's an online interactive session where we share my views on the everyday issues that cut across politics, security, health, current affairs, governance, and so much more. I am passionate about our country. I choose to support any conversation geared towards building a better Nigeria. I am Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Join me every Saturday on TVC News YouTube channel as I discuss Nigeria and the world at large on the show Issues with Jide.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. The major bane of our security challenge is that we are too reactive rather than being proactive in nipping threats in the bud before they fester. But the governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, is charting a proactive course to keep the state secure. In a bid to tackle insecurity brewing in the state, Governor Bello met with traditional rulers and chairmen of the 21 local government areas in the state. At the meeting, the governor tasked traditional rulers to play active role in keeping their communities and the state safe. Let's share part of the discussion with you.
To complement all this effort, the issue of community policing. The police overwhelmed. The police don't have the strength. This last time I checked the strength of the police in Kogi local government, it's a nice one. And debilitating also is the issue of mobility. During the dry season, Your Excellency, River Gurara particularly is dry. You can ride your machine across from across River Gurara into Kogi local government. And the FCT is a stone throw into Kogi and Nasarawa too. So these are threats, this pose threats to insecurity in Kogi State.
His Excellency, being sensitive to security issues, plus the huge investments he's made in security, which is generally acknowledged and recognized, has not lost facts of this position based on the meetings we've had with him. The unfortunate incident that happened at Ajakuta is, you can say, a one-off issue in that sense because of the level of the number of casualties we experienced from the police side and the local vigilante. We have started investigation in earnest, and if there were lapses by the operational commanders on ground, they will be dealt with adequately, and to ensure that the track record His Excellency has maintained in security, particularly security, is not messed up. Thank God for His Excellency the Governor. I've been in a number of states. I've served in over 10 states of this country, and I've never seen a state where the political heads of the local government are mandated and pressed to make security the foremost attention. I have never, and I'm not saying that to impress anyone.
We are aware that security is the business of each and every one of us, not just government alone. We have been doing our best to ensure that Kogi State is secured. Before that very ugly incident, I do receive intelligence and reports from the locals and from various sources. And I did call the local government chairman of Ajakuta and the paramount ruler of Ajakuta, particularly the Ohi of Ajakuta. The reports reaching me from your domain is not palatable. Together with the chairman, and I cautioned him, and I said, this is the last warning. Any incident of even kidnapping for a ransom of 1 naira by the criminal elements that you are harboring, you will pay dearly for it. And all he could do is to turn it political, and very unfortunately, we received that sad news. So, Your Royal Majesties and Your Highnesses, if you are accepting visitors, we are hospitable here in Kogi State, very, very hospitable. We shift and we say, others come and stay with us, and let's live together. Good. In the banking industry, there's one particular I don't know, policy they introduced sometimes. KYC, know your customer. In Kogi State, Your Royal Majesties and Highnesses, we are introducing KYS, know your subjects. Your Royal Majesties, Your Highnesses, you must know your subjects. Whoever is occupying any inch of your land, you must know what they are doing. Whether they are citizens or indigents, or they migrate or they come to stay with you, you must know who they are and what are their activities. Anything that happens in your land again, moving forward from today, I will give you a grace of this month to cleanse the land. Please, by 30th of August, finish cleansing the land. And you as the executive chairman, if you don't do your own, I've given a query to the Ajakuta local government chairman already. And all of you must sit up. Majority of you have occupied this position for some time, for a long time, even before you become executive chairman. So you should know who are the criminals in your area. There are so many undesirable sites across the states. All of them pretending to be job seekers or doing one thing or the other. Especially around either factories or industries or companies. We have bachas and shanties. All these shanties and bachas shall be removed immediately. The DG lands have been directed to mark all of these areas for demolition with immediate effect. I urge all of the investors or the owners of these companies to provide decent accommodation for their workers. Decent accommodation, decent transportation for their factory workers. If you can't provide it, then you will not be extracting our solid minerals or any mineral whatsoever, taking it away, paying paltry sum or nothing, and then subjecting us to danger. If that cannot be done, we will shut down that factory. We are aware that some criminals will take machine or keke napep, they wear face cap, put on dark goggles, and they wear nose mask, and either be spying or going for criminal activity. Therefore, except in hospitals and related institutions, use of nose mask in the public is hereby banned and prohibited as far as Kogi State is concerned. Brothels where acts of criminality or certain immoral acts are taking place as far as Kogi State is concerned are hereby closed down. And if they operate, as from tomorrow, we will knock down and demolish that brothel.
All right, Kogi State Governor Yiyabelo speaking there. All right, let's quickly welcome Nelson Ayebene to the program, Senior Programs Editor, TVC News. Welcome to Journalist Hangout.
Thank you so much.
All right, gentlemen, let's kick off our discussion. Kogi State has boundary to about 9 states, understandably needs to up its game and needs all hands on deck. All right, so I'm definitely sure that this synergy and concerted efforts Governor Yiyabelo is asking of the traditional institution, would definitely get them.
Well, I think it's a very good development because they are the first point of call for local people, the traditional rulers and the local government chairmen. There are 21 local governments in Kogi State. And Kogi State is one of the largest states in Nigeria with about 29,000 square kilometers. So it's even bigger than any state in the southwest. I think Oyo is about 28,000 and almost 10 times the size of Lagos. Now, we should have known that Kogi will be a focal point of the terrorists because there have been terrorist activities in the frontier states of Niger State, of Nasarawa State, of Benue State, of Ondo, and Ekiti State. And in fact, we understand that when some people collect ransom in Ondo State and Ekiti State, the next thing they do is to go and pay, when they kidnap people, people go and pay ransom in Kogi State. And if you all recall that the 5 people that were arrested, suspects, in connection with the Owo incident, at least a good number of them are said to be indigenous of Kogi State. So I think we should all be interested in what goes on in Kogi State. And I believe what the governor has done is right. Traditional rulers are custodians of people's values. They are supposed to report security issues. They are custodians of land. And terrorists cannot have a strong hold if they don't have a dominion to operate from. So traditional rulers, we have discovered on some occasions, offer land, for pecuniary gains to strangers that they don't know. They just give them land in the bush, and then before you know what is going on, they occupy those forests. And because there are mining activities in some communities, traditional rulers also some of them also get compensated, and they just look the other side. Allow terrorist activities to go on. So I think for the governor to direct his policy towards the traditional rulers and the local government chairman, I think it's the right step in the right direction. But it shouldn't just be a policy statement. There must be, the traditional rulers we should be able to have a kind of work plan and to measure success and failures. In the next 2-3 months, what are the traditional rulers going to do? Practical steps they will take in terms of assisting the government to tackle insecurity. So I think what the governor has done is good, but it will not be effective if there are no institutional backing. If you don't have state police, we are community policing, we are local government chairmen can have some level of authority. Even where the governor can have some level of authority on policemen, then it's just be a mere rhetoric. It's not going to have impact, in terms of our expectations.
All right, Nelson, in the past, traditional rulers have complained of being ignored in contributing their best to national security. Now, this is a huge call and a huge task for them.
I agree with you. Nigeria finds itself at a critical point in time when we were trying to, tackle insecurity. But while security can be tackled at a national and a regional level, the most effective way to tackle security is at the local level. More often than not, we try to deal with insecurity from a very, very combative and reactive point of view. But having the foresight and being proactive to tackle security is another thing. And this is where traditional rulers are very, very crucial in helping, assisting government to ensure that their lives and property are secured. So it's a very good move. No region or no state can be an island of prosperity in an ocean of insecurity. So ensuring that traditional rulers as custodians of values of the people, culture and tradition are carried along. At this point, like I said earlier, we find ourselves at a very, very critical state in our nationhood, and nobody can be sidelined or ignored in ensuring that all hands are on deck to really tackle security. Tackle insecurity. So it's a good move by the state governor, to ensure that at the local level, we've seen what's happening, elsewhere, where local vigilante groups are being also, engaged to see that the menace of insecurity is tackled. We've seen it in Benue, we're seeing it in states like Ondo, and in the southwest region. So it makes a lot of sense. It's a very good development. At the end of the day, it's more than just the political will. It's the will of the people, from the traditional rulers to down the line, to see that everybody, makes that effort.
All right, thank you, Nelson. Now, away from Kogi State, or outside of Kogi State now, and at this time that we have found ourselves in Nigeria when it comes to insecurity, the federal government, state governors, other state governors, how do they strategically reinvent the place of traditional institutions in community policing? Mr. Adewan.
Well, I think we have always known that the traditional rulers from time immemorial, are very critical to nation building. So even if their roles are not well defined in the constitution, at the time we had the House of Chiefs, when we had the 3 regions in the country, where they were given constitutional rights to make input to development. And I've been there to talk about having a constitution that will actually give them some kind of powers. So I think it's not out of place, and also considering the fact that they are also paid by the government. So they also work, in terms of they are paid by the government and they need to perform one function or the other. So I think traditional rulers should, it's not just in Kogi State, all over the country, they should see themselves as stakeholders because the security also affects them. Unfortunately, our security architecture is tailored to, is urbanized, whereas there are a lot of crimes going on in the rural areas. The architecture is to protect elite, to protect government officials, public functions, governors, forgetting about the fact that majority of Nigerians also live in rural areas. So I think because of these terrorist activities that we are now shifting our emphasis to what happens in those rural areas. And I think it's important that it should be part, it should be an integral part of government policies that security is not just about what happens in urban areas. We must also ensure that security presence, is achieved in local communities.
All right, Nelson. And let's not also forget that some of these traditional rulers have been accused of aiding and abetting some of these criminals in their domains.
Yeah, no doubt. We've heard stories, we've seen these things happen. Traditional rulers are also part of the society. So if there's insecurity and there's crime, one way or the other, it's either they're helping to avoid it or they're aiding and abetting it. So this is also a way for government to also relate more with these people, win them over to the side of government before these criminals get them. It's easy to get these traditional rulers to begin to aid crime. It's just a little bit of maybe interacting with them more and all of that. And on the long run, people also respect these traditional rulers and also relate with them more. Likewise, government should also do the same. Relate with the traditional rulers more, engage them more, support them more, because at the end of the day, they have the ears and the heart of the people. And so basically, it would help really, government, whether it's Kogi State or elsewhere, relating with traditional rulers more would go a long way in ensuring that they also get distracted from these elements who would want to bring them in and bring their support over and the likes.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your perspective. Now let's shift focus to Imo State, where the governor, Hope Uzodimma, is also adopting strategic and desperate measures to keep the southeast states safe. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has inaugurated 10 armored personnel carriers and other security gadgets donated to the police by the state government. The IGP noted that the procurement and launch of the brand new gadgets will change the security architecture in the state and make policemen work easier. Gentlemen, considering the unique security challenge in Imo State, how would you rate this additional investment to the security assets of the state?
Well, I look at it from many angles. First, Imo State has its own peculiar security situation. We have seen activities of unknown gunmen, people being killed, and some level of assassinations, that we cannot really. So I think it's a strange thing to Imo State, if you look at the history, it's a recent development. So I think the government should be expected at all times to do something practical. But I'm not sure how effective buying 10 APCs would be. It's a very good development, very, very good development, because I think it should cost between $15,000 to $25,000. APCs are used to carry weapons. They are also used as like barriers, you know. They're also used as outposts for police. And I noticed that they are mostly, installed in urban areas, you know, to also serve as a kind of psychological threat to criminals. But I think those things will not be meaningful if they are not backed with other practical steps that the government needs to take. Intelligence all over the world are meaningful when they are driven by intelligence, you know, driven by intelligence gathering. I'm not sure whether Imo State has any functioning forensic laboratory. I think in the whole of Nigeria, I think we have one in Port Harcourt and then one in Lagos. Because mere having APCs is great, but then you need to set up an intelligence mechanism that will be able to nip crime in the bud. Why Israel, America, they are ahead is that before you commit that crime, most of the time you are caught. APC can only act maybe as a kind of deterrence to, you know, crime actors. But the most effective method will be staying where they are planning those the crime. You know, the perpetrators are arrested. So I think the governor needs to design a more effective intelligence mechanism to back up the procurement of the APC, the armored personnel carriers. And of course, what has happened in Imo State is also a signal to the question we have been raising about state police. The governors keep on funding police, but they don't have control over them. 10 APCs is a lot of money from taxpayers' funds in Imo State. So if the governors consistently fund police institutions and they don't have control over them, so I think it is time for us to stop fooling ourselves. You know, it is time for us to have state policing as part of our, security architecture. And I hope that at the end of the day, that will be where we are going, not just governors spending public funds, on police and then they don't have control over them.
Nelson.
Yeah. I agree with what Adewale has said. We need beyond just purchasing hardware. And for me, we've spent so much on security, especially in areas where unknown gunmen or unknown men, as some would even joke about, are running rife and, causing a lot of damage. Ahead of elections in 2023, in areas like that, it creates a lot of uncertainty, and this is good, in the build-up to the next political season. This is good, but we also need to look at beyond just security hardware and architecture. He talked about intelligence. Intelligence, for instance, very important because it's that part I also think we're not probably investing a lot on. Yeah, we have armored personnel carriers. How about drones?
If a lot of people would say if intelligence is not working at the federal level, how do you expect it to work at the state level?
The same way the state is purchasing some of these armored carriers.
And also
invest in intelligence. It would go a long way, than just because at the end, yes, it will serve as a deterrent, having some of these things, these guys and all of that stationed. Another thing is these armored personnel carriers, we also need to look inwards. I've watched documentaries by BKO where, we see even close to us here in Ogun State, companies are beginning to make these things. Government should partner with these guys. So rather than, you mentioned a couple of dollars, to just to get one, and then we could look inwards and then have this thing, have a partnership with between these guys who produce stuff like this locally, and so we're minimizing costs, but we're also maximizing on strategy on all ends.
All right, gentlemen, Sadwale, your final take on this before we move on.
Well, we need to comment what the governor has done, and we are looking to see how effective, that next step will go.
All right, thank you very much. Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we have more to talk on Journalist Hangout on Sunday.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known, for when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some of the best reporters on the field,
taking you through as it happens.
Monkeypox is caused by a virus of same name that is closely related to now eradicated smallpox. The likely symptoms of monkeypox are fever, headache, muscle aches, back pain, low energy, rash, swollen lymph nodes, among others. How does the monkeypox virus get spread? You can get the virus through close contact with an infected person and also through physical contact with an infected animal. To get monkeypox treatment, you need to see a physician. Here are the steps to protect yourself from monkeypox virus. Step 1. Avoid close contact with suspected or confirmed monkeypox cases. Step 2. Avoid physical touch with animals who could be infected. Step 3. Frequently clean and disinfect environments that could have been contaminated. We all need to join hands together to protect ourselves from this virus. This campaign is brought to you by TVC Communication.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Every 1 hour, 86 migrants enter Lagos State. It is a beehive of activities. Every second counts in this city that never goes to sleep. There is always something to talk about. We go the extra mile to tell the story of Africa's 5th largest economy. We track happenings on land, on waterways, and in the air. We go against all odds to ensure that you are heard.
25% of the entire spread of Lagos is covered with water.
I'm Adedoja Salamadeni. I live in Lagos.
All right, welcome and thank you for staying with us. Okay, before we move on, we now have the maestro in the building, Babajide Koladio Titojo. Welcome, Bikeo.
Thank you so much.
And happy Sunday to you.
And you too.
All right, before you came in, we talked about two different issues. Governor Yaya Bello asking traditional rulers in the state to bring in more collaborative efforts in tackling insecurity in the state. And also the Inspector General of Police has inaugurated some gadgets, 10 armored personnel carriers in Imo State.
Yes, starting with Governor Hope Uzodinma. From what I saw the last time I was in Imo State during the Nigerian Army Day celebrations, this is a governor that is seriously concerned about the state of insecurity and is doing is best, at least in the area of acquisition of the equipment that the police and other security agencies need. I saw some APCs that were yet to be distributed at that time, and the truth is we were in Imo State on a Monday, and on that day, there was no seat at home. In fact, there was a traffic gridlock in town because the military showed its presence. They dominated the entire area. So I believe that if we beef up security sufficiently in our communities, our people will be better protected, and a lot of these kidnappings and killings, even in broad daylight, will be a thing of the past. So kudos to him for supporting the armed forces in the way that he's doing. Talking about the governor of Kogi State, he's also someone who has always been interested in improving security in his state and some states around him, around the state, like Nasarawa, even Federal Capital Territory. But in the last few weeks, we've seen some terrible occurrences happening in Kogi. The killing of those expatriates who are working at a ceramic factory, and of course the attack on the ambush on security forces in the state, which led the governor to suspend the traditional ruler in Ajaokuta. What the governor wants to see is traditional rulers playing a greater role, and that's why the Obaro of Kaba said the constitution should actually give a role specifically to traditional rulers, so that we know that when it comes to internal security, for example, in their domains, the buck stops at the desk of the traditional ruler. So you can see a governor who is pained by what has happened, trying to get to the root of the matter. If traditional rulers don't know people coming to their domains, if they don't set up structures that will enable them to identify hoodlums and other people when they sneak into their communities, then it will be too late for them to respond. So we've got to give a role to traditional rulers that enables them to help the armed forces to protect us better. I think many years ago, when the local government was, in terms of its structures, was better, traditional rulers had a bigger role, to play, and they were actually involved. They were in charge of security in their respective domains. But right now, that's not the case, and since we are facing serious security challenges now, I think it makes sense to give the traditional rulers that role.
All right, thank you very much, BKO. Let's shift focus to Ogun Apc Crisis. All it takes for war to break out is for parties in disputes to refuse peace overtures. Chieftains of the Ogun State chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC, who have been at war over control of the party, are engaged in blame game while the roof of the house is on fire. The former governor of the state, Senator Ibikunle Amosu, has allegedly rejected a reconciliation arrangement by the party. And according to a statement by the APC Publicity Secretary in the state, Tunde Oladujoyi, Amosu refused to be reconciled with incumbent governor Dapo Abiodun despite intervention of prominent traditional rulers as well as close friends and colleagues. But the lawmaker representing Ogun West Senatorial District, Senator Tolu Odebiyi, is defending former Governor Amosu over the matter. Senator Odebiyi stressed that it is Governor Abiodun that is rejecting peace efforts by the APC. BKO, Mr. Adewale, how deep is this issue? Let me come to you, Mr. Adewale.
What is happening in Ogun State is not a surprise. I think they started some years back, even when Governor Amosu was in power. His group did not support the current governor because he was in Allied People's Movement. But eventually, Governor Abiodun won. So naturally, there was a division ab initio. But we thought that this problem would have been resolved a long time. But it appears as if it's festering, you know. At least there are two major factions in Ogun State now. And unfortunately, those factions are mainly from the same family. The PDP is almost not the major opposition. The major opposition in Ogun State is within the party itself, you know, within the APC. So I think if they don't manage this crisis very well, there is a prospect that it might affect the gubernatorial election. We know that they had primaries last year, which was disputed. I mean, congresses last year in 236 wards, where there was another parallel congress. But the one that was recognized was the one that, you know, the governor conducted. So I hope that they will realize they should form a common front to go into the next election as one family. If they don't do that, there's no way, you know, the election will not affect the prospect of, do not substantial enough to lead to APC defeat. But at least I think it will reduce the vote that APC will have been able to record. So I hope that they will find a common cause, and I think that this is where the national body should come in to intervene. I know the national body has intervened on several occasions. People are taking extreme positions, and I think policy should be give and take. You know, you cannot have everything, but to have consensus, you know, drop some of your demands, and then the other party also drop some of, you know, its demands, so that you can have a common ground. They still have enough time between now and February next year to resolve the internal crisis within the party, and I hope they will do that.
All right, BQ, this is looking like a fight to finish.
Yeah, it's a case of two men who have not been reconciled. There are people within the APC who have been quarreling since 2015 who remain unreconciled till today. In Sokoto, in different parts of Nigeria, we have internal crisis in the APC. It's this internal crisis that has continued to help the enemy or the opposition to win states controlled initially by the APC. As I said some time ago, the PDP has won more states through the ballot box since 2015 than the APC. And it's largely because of infighting. Look at a state like Bauchi, look at a state like Adamawa. I was infighting. They were not reconciled because the internal mechanism for reconciling aggrieved parties within the party is a very weak one. So for this reason, fight breaks out between brothers within the same party. The national headquarters will just behave like it is powerless to resolve these issues. Amosun has remained in the party, but clearly he remains bitter that his candidate was defeated by Amosun, by Dapo Abiodun, by 19,517 votes. Now, for someone who is still in the APC, coming out to say that those who rigged Dapo Abiodun, the candidate of his own party, into power, have apologized. Therefore, Dapo Abiodun must be defeated. I don't see how someone can remain in a party and continue to throw stones against that party. This was what he did in 2019. He formed a different party, sponsored a different governorship candidate, hoping that his candidate will be able to use his incumbency to win. But that didn't happen. Now Dapo has become governor. He's gone to another, he has now released that candidate of his to join the PDP as deputy governorship candidate in the hope again that his preferred party now, the PDP, will be able to defeat Dapo Abiodun once this time around. I don't see how you as Amosun can describe yourself as a good party man when in the last 4 years all we've seen you do is work against the candidates of your party. Elsewhere, they will have been expelled. Because this is clearly anti-party activity. Clearly, in this same party, somebody abused President Buhari and he was expelled. Yet you watch someone walking, bare-faced, walking against his own party, and nothing is done about it. We think that it is right. Ultimately, the party may lose the election because if Yorubas will say that, is it even the appropriate way this time? I
think it is.
It is the schisms within the party, the bad blood within the APC, that continues to enable the PDP to win a lot of the states. We saw it happen in Osun. It may not be the main factor, but it was a factor, whether we like it or not. Because if those votes had gone to Oyetola, maybe he would have won. People will argue. I'm not convinced that that was the major reason. But a party, if people will remain in a party, then you have to work for the good of that party. You can't sit in a party and be doing your best to make sure that the party fails. What is party supremacy after all? If a person emerges as governorship candidate, you are not happy with it, you are doing your best to make sure that that person wins and loses. It is the party that you are waging war against. And it has to be seen in that light. Working for the opposition is like wishing that your party should not triumph. So it's wrong. No matter, they should be able to, one, bring these people together, resolve their differences, and people should be able to, when they lose, they should not be trashing around like bad losers. They should be able to say, okay, I've lost out. I'll wait for 4 more years. So,
Adewale, how best does APC resolve these issues? Because you already said it is not substantial enough to make them lose.
Yes. If you look at the last election, like Babangida said, Abiodun had 241,000. Akinlade, Adekunle, 222,000. The same, he left the APC. If you add the two figures together, no way any other party could have beaten them. In fact, the PDP, 70,000. So, I just don't understand why you are in the same party and you don't want to find a common ground. Because the fact also is that Amusu spent 8 years in power. He should realize one thing. When he was the governor of that state, he was in control of the party to a large extent. So, Dapo Abiodun now is the governor of the state. And in most of the states, the governor is the leader of the party. That is the new structure we have today. So you must concede, even though you are a former governor, you must concede to the fact that there is a new sheriff in town. And that means that you cannot have your way the way you used to have it. And don't also forget that I think the Amusu group portrays itself as acrimonious. The last 4 years of Amusu, it was one crisis or the other, to the extent that I could not even produce his successor. So I think there is a group in Ogun State that, you can't just placate them. You can't even understand what they want, because if you are within the same party, you form another party, Allied People's Movement, so you did not even support the governor, and then you are still coming back to the party to insist that, your own programs must be. So I think it's a bit complex, but I hope that the national leaders will come together. But if anybody does not accept the peace deal then the people must go out to mobilize the party against such a person.
All right, Bikio, do you have a final take on this before we...
Now, you know why it's so intriguing to me? The people who got into the House of Assembly in Ogun State on the platform of APM, Egbe Onipaki, that's the way Rauf Aregbesola described them. They've now defected to the APC. When they were doing this re-registration exercise, they defected and registered as APC members. Now, the person who formed the group is still waging a war against the governor.
No.
Does it mean that those guys who had joined the APC during that re-registration exercise of the party are now going to, like him, sit within the party that they just defected to and begin to work for the downfall of that party? Because this is what we are seeing. Clearly, this is what we are seeing. The president was in Ogun State. He was stoned. They stoned the president with pure water. And it was suspected that the aggrieved people who are not happy that it was Abiodun's hand that they raised up, that eventually stoned the president. It was a show of shame on the day. Now we have this. I attended an event where we saw people who were injured on that day. Some of them have suffered broken limbs, had to be amputated. They still have gory stories to tell about the event of that day when the president was stoned, because violence broke out. The people of Ogun State deserve to have peace. And if there's any way that at least a human being must have somebody that he respects, they need to find out who Amosun respects and get to that person, appeal to him.
Because we even heard the Awujale tried to intervene.
Yes, maybe that's not the person that they need to talk to. They need to still do some investigation and identify a person that he listens to. Maybe when that person talks to him, he will stop this whole efforts to make sure that his own party is defeated in a major election.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's quickly move on. Except something drastic is adopted, Nigeria may continue to wallow in a revenue quagmire regarding its main source of earnings, crude oil. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has let it be known that the projected daily payment for fuel subsidy is 18.39 billion naira. Ahmed told lawmakers at the hearing of the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating petrol subsidy between 2017 and 2021 that the total amount for the year will be about 6.72 trillion naira based on information from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Petroleum Company, NNPC, and the regulator, while based this on the average daily truck out of 64.96 million liters of fuel. She also said 1.774 trillion naira was paid to independent oil marketers as subsidy in 4 years. To compound the issue, the NNPC spent 54.66 billion naira on refinery rehabilitation in the first 6 months of the year. So alarming.
It is. And, you know, at a time when we are going through serious solvency issues, financial solvency issues, this kind of startling figures is not what anybody wants to hear. We are in dire straits, the economy is on a cliff, and the earlier we find a way to end this drain on every one of us, the better. It is no longer funny. A country that is spending about 114% of its earnings to service debt, the debt to revenue ratio We've always said that is what makes sense, not debt to GDP ratio. Debt to GDP ratio is a farce, at least when you bring it to Nigeria. Maybe in other countries it's not a farce, but in our country it's a farce because the GDP ratio merely gives the impression that, oh, we are that we are doing very well. But it's all about what you earn. Crude oil is our biggest earner. Unfortunately for us, we spend a huge chunk of what we earn from selling crude oil, even in a season of boom, when Russia has gone to Ukraine to fight a senseless war. Others are making money, we are not. Aramco of Saudi Arabia made $86 billion in 6 months. Let the NNPC tell us how much it made. On some months, NNPC did not even remit a dime to the Federation account, to the Consolidated Revenue account. So, where does this leave us? Our biggest guzzler of foreign exchange is also petrol, because you have to import petrol. Using your hard hand forex to import petrol. In the past, we had buffers in form of the foreign reserve, but when you look at our foreign reserve now, we cannot use it as a buffer anymore because the funds there are simply not enough. Because if you have, we've been told now that we have about $15 billion. That's just enough for a few months imports. So what do we then do? And we will be watching the country spend this kind of money on subsidy, having nothing left. If this kind of money, because now we are told that subsidy would even go above 6 trillion. How can we live with this? We've got to free the funds so that we can use it on something else. We must not get to the point when we will even be borrowing money to pay taxes. Those taxes are denominated in foreign currency. It means that what you earn, you've got to, you spend more of your domestic currency to service them, especially with the Naira sliding. So it's a terrible situation that we find ourselves. I am not convinced that we consume that much. I am not convinced. And I'm not the only one who is not convinced. I saw the number 3 man, the Senate president, say it openly that if we don't confront these people, one day they will come and tell us that it is actually 500 million liters that Nigerians are consuming. So, subsidy is an avenue through which a lot of people are lining their pockets. And we are simply powerless. That's why some of us want this subsidy to go. Ultimately, it has to go. This is not sustainable. It's just not sustainable anymore. To be feeding some people, or supposed to be feeding fat from subsidy, lying to us about consumption levels and all that. I mean, it has to stop. It just has to stop.
Adewale, let me have your take. 1.7 trillion naira payments to independent marketers in 4 years. But Nigerians still feel the pinch.
The question we should ask ourselves is that what is the level of transparency in Nigerian political economy? Either from our own indices as Nigerians, how do we see people in power? And also from global reckoning. Nigeria is seen as one of the most corrupt countries. So if anybody is giving us figures from NAPC, we have the right to suspect such figures based on precedents. And these oil subsidy issues and all that, there have been series of reports that have proved over and over again that the whole thing is a scam. In 2012, the House of Rep is probing fuel subsidy now, but we've forgotten that in 2012, they did the same thing. In fact, it was one Honorable Abiodun Balogun that raised the motion. And the probe by Gabi Amela, the current speaker, was the minority leader at that time. There was a probe panel. And that probe panel indicted a lot of NNPC officials. Indicted the Minister of Petroleum, Alice Madueke. And in fact, called for the removal of the petroleum minister at that time. And that those NNPC officials should be dealt with. What happened to that report? 2012. In 2013, there was a Benin declaration that was reported all over the world that Nigeria lost about $7 billion through, collaboration of some NNPC officials and a Swiss company. It was, a big, huge scandal. They went and registered a company in Bermuda where there's Star 7 and all sort of things, and swindled the country up to the tune of $7 billion, 2013. So what are we talking? So just like Babangida has said, we are being scammed. Government needs to address basic things. Number one, we should not be producing crude oil and then be refining abroad. So we need to resolve the politics of refinery rehabilitation. We have 5 refineries. None of them is working up to full capacity. The first refinery that was built in this country in 1965, just about about 100,000 barrels per day built in Port Harcourt by Balawa's government. So if we want to build a modular refinery, that will not cost much. That can refine as much as 100,000 barrels of oil per day. So if you look at the cost of subsidizing the fuel consumption and what we are going to spend in about 1 week or 1 month for subsidy, it's enough to start the process of building a new refinery. Even we are going to forget about those 4 refineries. So let's say we even want to build a new one, which will take about 5 to 7 years. So unless we refine our products at home, it may be a long-term plan, but I don't see that foundation being laid now. Since 1999, over 20 years. We need to think of a strategic long-term plan whereby we're able to produce, fuel at home, refined fuel at home.
All right, gentlemen, let's quickly take Michael from Lagos. Hello, Michael.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Babajide, please, I have a question for you related with this oil theft.
Yes.
Are you aware a system the Nigerian Navy have in Lagos called Fakonai?
No.
Okay. There's this Fakonai system the Nigerian Navy has. There are no vessels, as far as Nigerian water is concerned, that the Fakonai in Lagos are not seen. Why will vessels that carries as much as 2 million metric tons of vessels come to steal our crude here? Then you tell us that those vessels, they are not being seen. Then you go and arrest a man who only fetches 2 drums of diesel on water, put inside his boat. You arrest him, you come and put him on national television that these are people who are busting oil pipeline. When the major cabals that see this crude oil, they come in tankers, taking out.
Thank you very much, Michael.
People are not being.
Thank you, Michael, for your contribution.
That's the point. The super tanker that came into our country to steal crude oil the other day, it was in Equatorial Guinea that it was arrested. Within our own territorial waters, we couldn't arrest it. There is international collaboration in the theft of Nigeria's crude oil. If anyone says, and we are losing money because OPEC gave us a quota of 2 million barrels. We can't do 2 million barrels. We are only doing 1.2 million barrels. Now, if we were able to do 2 million barrels, that's extra revenue for us as a country. But based on oil theft and the fact that some of the oil majors have even left Nigeria, we are unable to produce as much as we should produce. Therefore, we won't be able to earn enough. So if we permit people to bring giant vessels into our country, steal up to 400,000 barrels of crude a day, because that's what we've been told by the minister, that they are stealing on the average 400,000 barrels of crude oil per day from Nigeria. Tell me one country that you know where their quantum of crude oil could be stolen and people won't be facing the firing squad already. So without collaboration of those who should actually be catching them, this sort of thing will not be happening. So it's true that that sector is as clean as a sewage pit. Mm. You know how clean a sewage pit is. That's how clean that sector is. It's a sector that we have to pay attention to. The administration that is coming after this one has to make it a priority, take cognizance of what's going on now and pay attention to that sector, because our prosperity lies in that sector. But we are watching our prosperity go to ruins before our eyes. And things will get worse if we don't take concrete steps. Stop those who are stealing through the so-called subsidy. Stop those who are stealing 400,000 barrels, not gallons, not Derica, barrels.
Adewale, in 30 seconds, let me have your final take on this.
Yeah, if we, Nigeria built refinery in 1965, 30,000 barrels per day. 1965. We built in 1980. We built in 1979. We should have a strategic long plan, and we should start now. We should not wait for federal government. States, especially Lagos State, that has the capacity, should also think of building refineries.
All right, thank you very much. You're still watching Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We take another quick break and I'll be right back for more discussions. Please stay with us.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're watching Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Now let's come back to Lagos. To go or not to go is the raging debate over operations of notorious commercial motorcyclists in Lagos, Nigeria's economic hub and commercial capital. In a bid to bring sanity on the roads and improve security, the Lagos State government has resolved to enforce a total ban on operations of commercial motorcycles, popularly called Okada, across the state. This resolution was reached at a stakeholders meeting in Lagos, where experts tasked the state government on the total ban and use of cutting-edge technology to keep the city safer. Let's share the story by TVC News' Nelson Etta with you.
Of Okadas to some routes and areas in Lagos.
Officials of the Lagos State government and stakeholders are gathered here to deliberate on issues critical to transport reform and security. At the stakeholders forum with the theme Okada Ban, what next? They resolve that there is a need to enforce a total ban on operations of commercial motorcycles in Lagos.
If you support that day to come, please say a resounding yea. As they always say in the Senate and the House of Reps, they have it.
The forum reviewed the ban on Okada in 6 local government areas, including Surulere, Etiosa, Lagos Island, Lagos Mainland, and Ikeja, as well as 9 local council development areas on the 1st of June.
Mr. Governor made a pronouncement on the ban of motorcycle operations in 6 local government areas and their respective LCDAs, 9 in total.
The forum was also to determine the status of the ban and establish effectiveness of enforcement, among other related issues.
In those six local governments, it's equally happening in others.
The State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Benga Omotosho, stressed that the stakeholders' meeting was significant to getting feedback from residents for an inclusive government, which the administration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu upholds.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governor, in the spirit of transparency and openness, for which is very well known, permitted us to go and hold this discussion and to call all segments of the society to come into this hall and tell us what they feel we should do next about Okada, considering the security situation, considering the safety of our people, considering all of the things that we need to do about our journey to Greater Lagos.
An environmental expert, Professor Bamidele Badejo, said the menace has destroyed economic and labor fabrics in the state, stressing that more young people who should have been engaged in crafts and agro-businesses, among other productive ventures, have settled for riding Okada.
The Okada menace has destroyed the skilled labor workforce. You don't see people learning to be mechanic, learning to be carpenter, to be bricklayer. Everybody is now heading for Okada. If you are constructing or building your houses now, you have to go to Cotonou, you have to go to Republic of Benin, and bring in all those people to start doing the work. All the tilers we have today are foreigners. All the bricklayers that are today, they are foreigners. So we need to go back.
The State Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladeinde, said crime rate in the areas concerned has reduced by 86% and accidents by 63.7% in the last 6 months. He noted that a total of 7,500 motorcycles were impounded and crushed within the period.
Today we are delighted to report our position on the review of the anti-Okada enforcement operation in the last 2 months. It is important to mention that the operation has recorded significant successes and compliance. In the affected areas within the periods under review, available records show that crime and accident rate reduced astronomically by 86% and 63.7% respectively, while a total of 7,500 motorcycles were impounded and crushed accordingly.
Representatives from religious and traditional institutions as well as community development associations across 57 local government and local council development areas of the state, civil society organizations and security heads among others were in attendance. They made submissions on the effects of the ban on road accidents and security as well as compliance by riders.
Should be banned all over. What is good for the goose is good for the gander.
The wise man once said, when we don't do what we know, we won't know what to do. The challenge for us Lagosians is doing what we know. Let's go back and add actions to our words.
According to reports from the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, commercial motorcycle-related accidents have reduced by 4%, as only 68 cases were recorded in June, against 74 recorded in May 2022. Another report from the State Ministry of Health confirms that accidents involving commercial motorcycles recorded in general hospitals across the state have reduced by 63.5%, as 176 cases were reported in June against 277 recorded in May. TVC News' Babajide Kolade Otitoju, who was the moderator of the forum, highlighted the yearnings of residents of Lagos to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
The message from all those who have spoken so far is very clear. Government has to take a big decision. May God give our governor the wisdom to take a decision of utilitarian value. And I believe that decision will happen.
In a swift move, the state government banned operations of commercial motorcycles in additional 4 local government areas and 6 local council development areas effective from the 1st of September. This is the phase 2 of the ban on operations of commercial motorcycles in the state. Nelson Etta, TVC News, Lagos.
There you have it. Gentlemen, Okada issue is largely an emotive issue. Yeah. You cannot talk about it without people getting emotional. BK, you moderated that meeting. What were some of the resolutions made there?
Yeah, the people, you know, before now, the restriction was restricted to 6 local governments and 9 local council development areas. But the people are saying law should not be discriminatory in its application. If you have a situation in which we are seeing the fruits, the dividends of coming up with that law, what would make sense is to extend this ban to other parts of the state. You shouldn't be happy to see accident rates reduce in the areas where you have banned Okada, and then watch their menace continue in other places, leading to loss of lives and property. So that was why the people just felt, look, law should not be discriminatorily applied. Let that same law be applied to other areas. There were some who said the state government should come up with alternatives. You know, the inner city roads, you need small buses that will call Korokwe, for example, that been popular in Ekiti long before some individuals began to share them here in Lagos. That the Korokwe's can go into the inner city roads, you know, so that they can pick people, people can get to their destinations using them. And many people are also of the view that even places that we could trek to, these days, people are too lazy to trek, they would rather pick a bike. That look, that is not even good for our health, our cardiovascular health, that it makes sense to let people trek more, you know. And frankly too, some suggested that our politicians were in the habit of donating Okadas as empowerment items, that they should stop doing that. And then even security agencies, the security agents, a lot of them have Okada, you know, and how do you arrest them? For example, and I gave an example of a day when I saw, even though it was already banned, the Okadas, and it was already, the law was there, the Okada should not be taken to the international airport area. But you see a soldier fully kitted, riding his bike and even picking passengers all the way to the international airport. Who gets to arrest him? You know, some of them will put the stickers of the security agencies on their bikes so that they can be insulated against arrest. So these are some of the issues. Our people want to be safe, and before now, we found a way to get to our destinations. Okada, the prevalence or the huge number of Okadas in Lagos now, we didn't know anything like this in the 80s. Yeah, people found a way to move around. So, and we've seen states that banned them, and they are getting by. I gave the example of Kano. Kano, for example, I never thought Kano could ban Okada because we had far more Okadas in Kano than Lagos. But today, it's been banned in response to the killings happening when Boko Haram was at the peak of his strength in 2013, 2014. They had to ban them, and it's working, you know. So we've seen some states too, apart from Kano, also ban it. So if those states could ban it, look at Akwa Ibom. That's where the Okada even began in Nigeria. You know, if they could ban it in its cradle, Why are we thinking that it should never be banned? It can never be banned.
We'll get there.
So many issues came up, and I think it was a far more successful deliberation than even the first one we had sometime last year. So the people who have spoken, it's up to Governor Sanwo-Olu to now listen to them. I think his first response was to add 4 more local governments. Maybe ultimately it will spread across the state, but the people have spoken, and since he gave them the opportunity to speak, it is incumbent on him to act on the desires of the people.
All right, Bikeo Adewale, this is the second phase of the ban. Let's talk about enforcement.
Well, I think what you need is the political will. But most important also is the state of mind of Nigerians. That do I feel safe to ride Okada? Once we're able to educate people. For instance, I've just listened to the figures about the accident rate and then the crime rate, which has gone down drastically. I think those are very important information. But one thing you should know is that we should look at this issue from historical context. Problem of unemployment, poor transportation system, poor urban and regional planning. There is no accessible roads in rural areas, rural communities, in even urban centers. And then corruption. Tax that some people collect from Okada riders. The fact that also the people feel that Okada is fast and it's accessible. But the overriding factor will be human life, human safety, whatever we are doing. So if we are talking about people losing their life, in fact, you go to orthopedic hospital, you see a ward, you see people with broken limbs, broken skulls, you start wondering that should people make money survive on the misery of other people? So you see a lot of people that have lost their pregnancy, miscarriages, because they rode Okada from one place to the other. You see children, two months, somebody coming from hospital, just less than 7 days old baby on Okada. Is that not a sin? Is that not a crime? So I think, if Kano, like Babagide said, Enugu, I was in Enugu to know Okada. We are thanking El Rufai now because of the ban of Okada in Abuja. At the time, it was a mess. So people initially feel the pain, but the overriding utilitarian good, the highest good of the highest number, I think people will think that, will realize that. And you see, the man said one thing I think is very important. The artisan economy. People, bricklayers, tailors, artisan mechanics, they are living in droves. If we go to some buildings that are being built, we are just going to find that all of them are from Togo. At the end of the year, they go with millions of naira back to their country. So we are no longer having artisans. And I think the Lagos State government has done something that is very remarkable. I think they started about 2 years ago through 21st century talent hunt. They were training people in local communities. I think with the Lagos State government, training people, 20 people in local communities in entrepreneurship. Because if you look at those old days, you go to our cities, those buildings were built by bricklayers, by rewire people, by mechanics, not politicians. Hard work. Those things are no longer there. So if we are talking of a state like Lagos that has the trust fund, and then we are talking about the 21st century talent hunt, where people are being trained in local areas about entrepreneurship, I think we can go back to that kind of process, whereby people that are losing their jobs will go back to that 21st century training center. All right. They will be trained, and then they can contribute more meaningfully to the economy.
All right, quickly, BK, taking a cue from what Adewale said, educating people, because I cannot lie to you, some residents of Lagos are seeing this as the elite versus the poor. Leave us here. Beyond safety, they are not looking at that.
Well, people need to understand. You see, if they were even in the habit of respecting traffic codes and all the rest, nobody will bother. But if you try to arrest an Okada man, be ready for mob action. Some of the people who are enforcing this law, you've seen them come away with broken heads and all that. They are always quick to resort to violence. And a good number of these people that we think or that we owe it a duty to keep them on their jobs, they are not even Nigerians. Some can't speak a word of Nigerian language. I've encountered some who could not speak. I spoke Hausa to them and they didn't understand me. So why should aliens come into our country and be killing our people? Look at the nonsense that they did in Lekki the other day. You had a misunderstanding with your passenger. The next thing, you people lynched him. They set him ablaze in broad daylight. Where are people allowed to do that? I mean, so something must give ultimately. People won't die if they don't get on a bike. There's nowhere in the world where motorcycle taxi is an integral part of commuting. Not even in Southeast Asia where they still use it as motorcycle taxi. It's not. It won't be. It will be used only in a few areas. The hinterland places that can be accessed by vehicles, by buses and cars, not to just litter the entire landscape, as we now see. And a lot of them are criminals. They use them to snatch. You know what they don't even do? Even this, what was it called? Drug addicts now use them to buy drugs and convey to different destinations. So a lot of crimes are being committed with Okada. And I'm telling you, even the security agencies will heave a sigh of relief. They will have less work to do if they take out these guys.
Adewale, your final take on this?
Yeah, just two things that I wish the Lagos State government goes back to 21st century talent hunt. They did it about 2-3 years ago, where they are going to train people in skill acquisition to be able to absorb people that are going to lose their jobs. Second one, the dispatch riders is becoming another menace.
Yes.
So why they are dispatch riders?
People even say some of them are Okada riders.
Yes.
So now,
you know, there's so many of them on the streets. You know, almost becoming another menace like Okada. So government should put an eye on that.
They ride even on highways.
Yes. So I think government should not, should not forget about that. It's going to be a major problem if they don't do something now.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's move to the final lap of our discussion today. And that is our Journalist Hangout Weekend Special, which focuses on the agony of persons displaced by armed banditry in Jibia area of Katsina State. Rampant attacks by bandits on communities in the state have forced many to flee their homes and take refuge in internally displaced persons' IDP camps. Babajide Kolade Otitoju recently visited an IDP camp in Jibia where they narrated the pains and anguish inflicted on them when bandits attacked their villages. Let's share the story he filed from Jibia with you.
On March the 10th, 2022, Nigerian soldiers took the decision to withdraw from their base in Shifida, Jibia local government area of Katsina State, located less than a kilometer from the Rugu forest base of dreaded bandit leader Dangote. The army's decision to withdraw was precipitated by a number of factors, including acute water shortage and ambushes by the enemy. It turned out a catastrophic decision. Residents of the crowded village of approximately 20,000 people were thrown into panic by the army's withdrawal and began fleeing out of the village, since they knew their only layer of defense against bandits nearby had been removed. In the stampede, at least 10 kids died, while the bandits proceeded to block the road and kidnapped about a dozen residents fleeing the unguarded village for Jibia and neighboring Niger Republic. The bandits looted everything valuable in the village, including roofing sheets, livestock, and food items, before setting houses ablaze. The councillor representing Shimfida Ward and a youth leader narrate the events of that fateful day.
Immediately when the soldier was dropped from the village, so after they find out the people are moving, so they even rushed to attack the road in times whether they will cover some of them to take them away, for what they used to do for kidnapping to collect money. I know that succeed because they captured some of our members after we left. So definitely those bandits, they entered the village, they started burning houses, they started packing the important items, they used to move away from there. Majority of the village, those who we blame is those who we are boundary from Zamfara, because majority, they take all our property down to Zamfara.
They all destroy all what we have. They burn our houses, they pack all our items belonging to the communities. So that's why we call on state government and local government to make whatever possible assistance to us to provide adequate materials like sleeping materials, which include mattress, nets, and bedsheet for us so that we can survive adequately here. And we call on them to provide like medicine, because currently we don't have any medicine in that place.
Governor Aminu Bello Masari remains convinced the army made a fundamental tactical error by withdrawing from the Shimfida base, leaving the villagers exposed.
The issue is, why were soldiers killed? What happened? This is what they should look at and address, not abandoning the people. And look at the cost of abandoning the people. They came and sacked the whole of the village, destroyed everything, removed roofing sheets, removed doors, whatever was useful, destroyed the school system in there. We had a secondary school, had to be closed, it was destroyed. The primary schools there were destroyed. What was the gain of the military withdrawing from the Shimfida? It was a tactical mistake that was rolled, that cost lives, properties, and the dislodgement of many people in Shimfida.
The Katsina state government responded promptly to the humanitarian crisis by setting up an IDP camp in the government girls secondary school, Jibia. The government continued to appeal to the army to return to their base in Shimfida so that people can return to their ancestral homes. The army recently returned to the village, encouraging the relocation of Shimfida indigents to their destroyed homestead. Governor Masari approved immediate release of the sum of 107 million naira to purchase drugs, machines, and reconstruct damaged houses in the village. Though a good number of IDPs have returned to Shimfida, many from such villages as Sambe, Zango, Kwari, and Gerin Mawea are still left in the camp in Jibia because their communities are not yet safe. I visited the Education and Social Services Department under the State Social Welfare Unit, where food meant for the IDPs are stored. Mohammed Lawan Jibia is the secretary, Jibia local government. He talked to me about the food items here and the need for support to take better care of the IDPs.
Taking care of these people dislodged by the bandit from those villages is not a very, very big task. Local government has spent a lot of money in trying to take care of them. There was a time when after the breakfast, we used to cook 15 bags of 50 kg rice for their feeding, for their lunch, and we made swallow in the night. So if you calculate this amount of this one, it is getting to about 1 million in a day. Without the intervention of the state government, we cannot do it. We cannot do it at all.
It was time to visit the IDPs at their Jibia camp and see how they were doing.
I'm here at the Government Girls Secondary School, Jibia, Katsina State, where internally displaced persons who are dislodged from villages like Kwari, Shimfida, Sambe, Garimewea, and Zango are being looked after by the Katsina State government. From Shimfida alone, 12,560 persons were dislodged by bandits and their houses destroyed. They have had to be kept here by government so that they can be properly looked after.
The displaced persons tell the bitter story of attack on their communities and what they want government to do for them going forward.
Ma'aikata suka je tsambi ranar Laraba. Da suka je tsambi ranar Laraba.
The trouble all started after security operatives visited our village on one fateful Wednesday, and thereafter the bandits took offense of the visit and attacked us. On that day, 100 people were taken and even the village head. After much negotiation, some of the hostages were released. We had to follow the troops who visited the village. This lady says, as a result of the bandits' attack, she lost contact with her husband, who left her with 6 children. Appealing to the government to provide us with security so that we can go back.
On 10th of March 2022, I'm in Shimfida. On that day, early morning, we see troops carry army enter the Shimfida. At that time when we decided to move, there's only 2 trucks in the village. So no plenty vehicle to carry people from there. So as a result of this confusion, there is no peace of mind. We lost 8 children.
I walked up to the makeshift kitchen in the camp. Rice was the meal. The special assistant to the Katsina State Governor on Security Matters, Ibrahim Katsina, throws more light on insecurity in the state and measures government is taking to address the problem.
Initially, there were 13 frontal local government areas that are facing this banditry, but currently we have 3, Jibia, Basari, and Faskari. The rest is just like the Nigerian factor. You hear attack here today, tomorrow we will subdue them. But the 3 areas that were facing most of the major challenges now is Jibia, Basari, and Faskari. And we're also doing whatever it takes to see that we subdue these challenges.
He also spoke on the multi-layered approach to protecting the state.
We're making 3-tier security structure, involvement of the traditional rulers, in security management, the ADR, the Alternative Dispute Resolution Mechanism, which have established multi-door courts now in the state. We are reaching out to every stakeholder to ensure that even if we are going into amnesty, we'll do it in a right manner that will be based on reality.
Governor Masari, who explained how capital intensive it is to take care of internally displaced persons, described insecurity as a big distraction.
If you take how much we are spending every month to support security agencies, if this money is free, that we can employ it in education, in healthcare, a lot. We would have done more than what we have promised the people to do. But a lot of diversion of resources, our time, our energy towards addressing this issue of our people that are daily being killed and daily being displaced. Imagine a whole community being displaced. They have to be fed. They have to be sheltered. You know, so the enormity of expenditure on states that are confronted this is so huge. That's why we can't even move. We have to stay, because what I realized that there are 2, even if you cannot help somebody, sympathize with him. It helps, so that he knows that you care. Because That's why we're here. That's the purpose of our being here. Otherwise, what is the use? For example, this Shemfida, we have spent over 100 million to simply provide simple roofing so that the people can go back. But we still need...
Confident that victory of good over evil is just a matter of time. Babajide Konade Otitoju, Jibia, Katsina State.
There you have it, sad tales of agony, gentlemen. Nikhil, you heard these stories firsthand. Tell us more.
You know, in 2019, I traveled to that same community to interview bandits. And at that time, they promised they would never attack the people again. The government came up with an amnesty program. The camp of the bandit leader, who goes by the name Dangote, was just a spitting distance from the town, from the village where I conducted those interviews. In fact, I was even in the story showing the viewers some of his fighters who are going to their base, you know, on that day. But those guys didn't really change their ways. The amnesty program collapsed after some time because when you embrace amnesty, you don't get to make the kind of money that you make as a criminal.
Correct.
So they got tired and went back to kidnapping people, killing people. But with the presence of the military at Shemfida, the people remained protected. But on 2 different occasions, our soldiers were ambushed in that community, leading to loss of lives. In fact, I think a lieutenant or so was killed. So, coupled with other problems, the military decided to move out of that community. And that was what led to a fresh round of killings and attack on the people. So, they attacked the people. Some of them died. Houses were burnt. Children, about 8 kids, were trampled upon as the people were struggling to jump into any bus available just to run away. They knew that with the military retreating, that their lives were in danger. And that was exactly what happened. They couldn't even wait for the military to leave before they started attacking the people, you know, stealing their livestock. They kidnapped some of them who were trying to run away from the area. So I decided to go to Jibia. Jibia is a very important Nigerian town because of its closeness to Niger Republic. In the years when we had peace, a lot of business was going on between Nigeria and Niger Republic, you know, along that axis, including even mining. There are some solid minerals that in the Niger end that we don't have. Our people will go there, help them to process the gold. They can mine, but our people know how to make it look good and all that. But today, those areas are not safe. If you tell people, let us go to Shemfida, they know that the road to Shemfida is dangerous because the bandits have several crossing points. So you could just be unlucky at a point when they are crossing.
And you get attacked.
They will attack you. So people don't want to go to those areas. So apart from the people from Shemfida, there were other IDPs from other towns like Zango, Geremia, Wea, who told me that, look, we can't go back home. As much as we feel the pain of being fed, the alternative
is never to go back home.
Is what they can't contemplate. So those communities remain unsafe. All we can do for our people is keep those communities safe, beef up security, but even the military is overstretched. You can't have the military protect every community. The governor was telling me of one local government, for example, in Katsina State that has more than 100 communities, but only 34 policemen. So what do? The divisional headquarters there of police, just 34. 34 to protect more than 100 communities. How can our people be protected by just 34 persons? So it's just a terrible thing. The Katsina is hemmed in the middle between Katsina and Zamfara. I mean, between Kaduna and Zamfara. Bandits will come in from Zamfara. Some will come from Kaduna, especially through Sabwa local government. And it's making life unbearable for those people. 13 local governments in Katsina, 13 local governments are currently being harassed by bandits. So when you are talking about Nigerian states that are relatively unsafe, Katsina comes to mind because 13 of its local governments see attacks by bandits. And they are even, the governor was telling me that they are even trying to come into the state capital. One of the things that the governor said to me that troubled me until I got to Lagos was the involvement of women. That women are now getting more and more involved in banditry. Getting more and more. Any piece of business that offers a huge, can I use the word turnover, or a huge profit margin, people will not give it up easily. It will take mighty effort to get people to stop this banditry. And it's a big problem. Nigerians must come together and find a way to save our people. Our people are really suffering. Anyone could sit in his home and imagine that, oh, some of these things are exaggerated. But you saw that old man crying. He doesn't know where his children are anymore. So, who feels it knows it. A lot of our people are going through a lot. It's a really painful thing to watch them suffer.
Hold on, BKO. I don't want.
Well, first of all, let me commend the effort of Babajide to you. I mean, this is really journalism. This is what makes TVs to be actually unique. Because we are getting stories that are behind the curtain, that are not even reported by the global media. What is going on in Katsina is very unfortunate. This is the state of the president of the country, which is supposed to at least be one of the most protected, What is going on there, I think should have been tackled initially when the problem started. Because when the military started putting heat on bandits in Zamfara, in Kaduna, the surrounding states, and people were raising alarm in 2012, that the bandits were, fleeing to Katsina. They were not, nobody did, the response was not as effective, was not decisive. Until 2014, that they started killing people. Unfortunately, they kill people in hundreds. 103 people killed, 50 people killed. And I think to tackle this problem, there are two major things that I see. First one is to deal with the problem of drug supply. I think some of those bandits are on drugs. It is true. There's one drug, they call it Fanta. When they inject the body, they don't even know whether it's a human being that is standing or whether it's animal.
They are not human.
So at that moment, they are not conscious.
Does
not
take a normal situation.
So the supply of drugs, hard drugs, the government needs to work on it. Then the other area is access to weapons. That place, like I said, is very close to Niger. So weapons from southern Libya, where you have so much trouble in the Maghreb region, arms are being supplied through southern Libya too. So the supply of arms and then the supply of drugs. The other thing is I don't think negotiation is fruitful in this case, because you negotiate with them, after that they go into boundary again. There was one of them, I think, Buhari Daji or so. He was killed. The government negotiated with him. He has not been killed, but the government negotiated with him and he promised heaven and earth. The following month, you renegade. and then they started the banditry again. So I don't think negotiation is going to work. The government needs to forget about negotiation and deal decisively. And the other aspect is the ability of the governor to control the soldiers will drill. If we have state police, the governor will have been able to take initiative. But in this case, it became helpless. It boils down to what we are saying. True federalism, where state governors will be able to have, policemen that they are under their control. All right, Bikio, a few minutes to go. Your last take on this before. And I heard the governor talk about capital intensive of taking care of these people. Yes, it's extremely expensive. I saw where they keep their food without the support of NEMA, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. I doubt if any state can have the scale of problems that they have in the Northwest and be able to survive. I mean, if just one town, the governor has had to spend more than 100 million on roofing sheets alone, one community. By the time it's extended to other areas, how much are they going to spend? Security operatives kept in their state, they are paid hundreds of millions by way of allowances every month. Governors buy vehicles for them. They try to keep them comfortable. It costs a lot of money. We can't talk about how much is spent on even keeping security forces in those states. You pity the governors of some of these states when they tell you how much they are spending on security. That's why other sectors will suffer. I mean, if you are spending billions on security, other sectors will suffer. So this is the thing. IDPs, you have to feed them, you have to even clothe them, sometimes. It's expensive, feeding hundreds of IDPs every day without support. I don't think any state can sustain it for long. And that's why you see the governor of Borno State struggling to ensure that some communities are safe so that they can return people to their homes, because it's extremely expensive. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Especially thank you very much, Bikio, for bringing these experiences to us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Adewale, for coming on the program today. Thank you so much. All right, that's our package today. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeats broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Music is fuel that fires up our souls. Today, African music has a dominant place on the world map. This massive music movement creating waves across the globe.
I have seen the evolution and the growth of this industry.
But every movement starts with a story. And the best place to start any story is at the very beginning.
There's a primordial energy that can only have come from Africa.
Every 1 hour, 86 migrants enter Lagos State. It is a beehive of activities. Every second counts in this city that never goes to sleep. There is always something to talk about. We go the extra mile to tell the story of Africa's 5th largest economy. We track happenings on land, on waterways, and in the air. We go against all odds to ensure that you